especially the family part.
1300 on your AM dial, WMEL, and online at 1300WMEL.com.
Not looking at it.
Project. Can I live again? I don't even know what's real. It was horrifying life on the battlefield. Seen a lot of soldiers die on the front lines. Bombs going off when we drive by. Can I live again? I don't even know what's real. It was horrifying life on the battlefield. Seen a lot of soldiers die on the front lines. Bombs going off when we drive by. Yeah, you got questions? Garen and Glenn have answers. Pick up the phone and give them a call. Tell them Soldier I sent you. 321-631-1300.
Welcome to another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard or Reserves, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com, sponsored as always by AVET Project. Folks, this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee, and maybe a pencil or paper to jot down a note or two, because we're always bringing you good information that you can use and share with others. With that said, let's get this show off the ground. My name is Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AVET Project. But y'all know I never fly through the airwaves alone.
Good morning once again. I'm Glenn McGuffey, manager of your Brevard County Veteran Services team. And we've got a very informative show as per usual.
Sure do.
And pretty exciting as per usual. And we'd like to see if we can kick this off with our bosun's call. We missed it for a week or so there, and we're looking forward to it. There we go. Talk to us, Commander Perry. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Glenn. Good morning, Garen.
Good morning, sir. Glad to have you back on American Warrior Radio. I know you've been busy here for quite some time, but we're really appreciative of you taking the time to share with our audience a little bit about what's going on. Everybody, this is the commander of your Coast Guard station at Port Canaveral, Commander B. Perry. So, Commander, what's going on out there on the waterways?
Well, I tell you, it's been pretty busy, as you know. 1 June is here, which for the Coast Guard, that puts us on high alert. Hurricane season is here, so what we've been doing the past couple of months is just getting prepared, going through our checklist, making sure we've got our equipment ready so that we can provide our service. That's usually when we go to work.
And what do you do during a hurricane, by the way? Do you evacuate the area if it's going to hit here and get north or south of it, or what happens?
Yes, sir. Most of our big boats, they'll get into sorties and head out in flotilla groups, and they'll go either north or south depending on which way the storm's going and which way our weather brethren tell us to go. And then what we do here locally is we pull everything out of the water that we can and basically go to a safe haven inland so that we can respond as soon as we can after the storm.
Probably good advice for everybody, particularly those who have boats, is to get that. Do you have any suggestions for the private boat owner who may be docked in the water somewhere as to what they might do to try and help protect their boat with an incoming storm?
Yes, sir. What I would suggest is the first thing you do is whatever the marina you happen to have your boat tied up at, check with the harbor master. A lot of times they'll have their own policy on what they would like you to do during a storm, whether it's pull the boat or additional lines or so forth. But each marina will have their own little plan. And also you can go to uscg.mil, and on that website there's some information and some other links that you can go to for just that, some information on what you should do in a hurricane.
And you mentioned that your big boats, now we're talking the cutters there. What are the names of the cutters assigned to the port here?
We got the Cutter Vigilant, the 210-foot cutter, and the Cutter Confidence, and the Cutter Shrike, the 87-foot patrol boat. So decisions are made up at DC on what happens with those things, and they usually go together. And if they're not at sea already, then they're safer at sea. So they'll put to sea and try to run for the storm so that they could be on the backside coming through behind it.
Now, sir, you're a career coaster. You've been through all kinds of different scenarios. Let's say, for instance, there's an emergency out at sea, say 5-10 miles off the shore of the Space Coast here, and you've got your assets secreted away in hangars or someplace, like you said, safe to where they won't get damaged, and your personnel, I'm guessing, are going to be sequestered in quarters as well. How do you react to something like that? What happens then?
What happens then is a lot of time we're going to use as much air as we can. We'll use helicopters if we can, and you know, at certain times, depending on the wind and the strength of the storm, they have to shut down also, so just for the safety of the flight crews. So we'll respond by air if we can. If not, we try to maintain communications the best we can with that vessel until it's safe enough for us to launch. I will have ready crews. I'll have 3 or 4 ready crews with me that we will have our boats on trailers ready to respond to on a case-by-case. You know, we just have to evaluate, do our operational risk management tools to decide whether we can respond or not. Because, you know, that's these young guys and everything, you know, and I was there one day. You live for that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You live for that stuff, going out there when it's nasty and pulling somebody out of it.
Show their true mettle, right? Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that's what happens. We manage each case, you know, on a case-by-case basis. And as you know, here most of the bridges, you can't even pass over the bridges. You know, when the wind starts blowing a certain miles an hour. So we take our boats inland and then ride it out and then come in behind it.
You got any current action stories to tell us that you might have responded to recently, or anything exciting going on out there, Commander?
I tell you what, we got a lot of exciting stuff. Speaking of the Cutter Vigilant, they had a change of command ceremony yesterday. Commander Jim Estermonti was relieved by Commander Lacey. Hopefully I can get him on here one day.
Yeah, great.
He just came from the Cutter Mellon out on the West Coast. And I wanted to say to Commander Estermonti, fair winds, falling seas, he's going to be working for the Secretary of Homeland Security as an aide. So he's going to be moving his family up to D.C.
Wow, that's quite a promotion, yeah?
Yes, and also I want to say, you know, my executive officer, Chief Marshburn, just received an advancement to Senior Chief, Bosun Mate.
Oh, outstanding. Way to go, Lane.
Hoorah.
He's much
So
deserved.
for Lane, he's moving on up, and real proud of him.
Does that mean we're going to be losing him here? He's going to be
He'll
transferred?
be transferring next summer, so I get to keep hold of him for a year.
Well, that's good.
And also, Chief Rich Hensel today is retiring from the reserves. So our fish lips brother over there,
Oh, yeah.
he's retiring from the reserves today. We're actually they're forming up outside for a ceremony for him, and it's going to be sad to see him go. He was our senior enlisted reserve administrative guy, and he decided to move on from the reserve force. So fair wind, falling seas to him.
Yeah, and he's such a good man. As a matter of fact, he and his restaurant supported the recent ceremony you had for the 30-year celebration of your support of the space efforts.
Right. They always do a good job. They support the community. The Propeller Club, the MAC, Fish Lips, and those folks do a great job. So we're glad to have him still in the area.
Right, and he put in his career, right? I mean,
Right.
he was a career sailor himself, so that's
Right.
that's outstanding. Yeah, that is a lot of personnel changes. What about your own situation? Any news coming up for you?
Yeah, I actually on June 1st I was promoted to Bosun 4, so Chief Warrant Officer 4.
Congratulations.
Outstanding! Congratulations, sir.
That's that's my pinnacle. That was my goal coming in, and I'm really happy. And
Oh,
I get to stay though, so I get to stay. Loving it.
excellent. Yeah, because you just bought a home here on the Space Coast too, right?
That's right. We're in it for good. I plan to be around here for a while, so
We're so glad to have you, and again, congratulations on that much deserved
Thank you.
promotion. That's outstanding. I'm sure your family's thrilled for you as well, because they've, you know, a lot of people that are listening to this, Commander, they don't really understand or maybe have full appreciation for what the families go through with our military and all the challenges they face. So your family's been through a whole lot as well. So seeing you get promoted must mean a lot to them.
Oh yeah, they're really excited. And speaking of that, you know, when you were talking about hurricanes, and that's the thing. These families, you know, when our everybody's evacuated, they're on their own. The families go take care of themselves because the coasties go to work. And you know, hats off to them. The families are so strong. And I'm really proud of mine. They do a great job, and you know, following my career and have given me support. And you know, my wife is, you know, hats off to her. She does a great job taking care of the kids while I'm at work. So love it.
Yeah, and when we talk about the military and we talk about deployments and all the different PCSs, permanent changes of station, folks that are not military familiar, the moves from one station to another throughout your career, it really is a challenge for the families, and you know, we can't drive that point home hard enough, Glenn.
Yeah, and I think that the non-military people just really don't have a good understanding of what a special person it takes to be a family member of an active duty service member, because I was trying to count it up while y'all were talking there, and I moved at least 12 times in 21 years.
Right.
So you know, that disrupts the kids' schooling and all that, so it takes special kids too.
Well, the kids, you know, they got to make new friends everywhere they go, and you know, the kids that are active in sports, they got to start over and building a reputation, and
Exactly.
and it's really tough on them. And speaking of sports, my son, I just got the call today. He got picked for the Merritt Island Little League All Stars, so
All right.
really happy for him.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
What's your son's name?
Say again?
What's your son's name?
Brett Perry.
Okay, Brad, thank you so much, brother, for all your hard work. It paid off.
Yeah.
That's gotta make Dad happy.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Well, and we're so happy to hear you got your promotion, that you're going to be sticking around. So you'll probably retire from this station, yeah?
I could. I'm gonna see what they offer me. The family's definitely gonna stay here. Depends on what happens here in the next 2 years. If they want me up in headquarters or whatever, I may do a 2-year stint just to. But the family's definitely staying.
Well, that's good news, because we've got so much invested in helping you guys, and AVET Project is there for you. Give me a quick idea, when is your Family Day picnic coming up?
Our Family Day picnic for the Coast Guard anniversary and the birthday it'll be in August. We're going to come up with a weekend date on that. Coast Guard Day is August 4th, so it'll be somewhere around there. Whenever it'll probably be August 3rd, I would think. I think that's a Saturday, is August 3rd, so that's probably going to be the day we'll have our Coast Guard Day.
Video's ready.
Okay, well, that's great, because just like AVET Project has supported the 920th Rescue Wings Family Day, and we're going to be supporting the Navy's Family Day at the end of this month, folks, and we'll talk about that in a moment. This is kind of a primer for y'all to get invested with your volunteer time and your dollars to help these guys and gals out that do so much to keep us all safe and free here. Commander, we really do appreciate all the time and effort you put into sharing with our audience a little bit about what's going on here on the Space Coast and throughout the Coast Guard. Throw that website out again one more time, just so they can check things out for themselves and find out more about what's going on.
Yes, sir. You can go to uscg.mil, and that's got a Coast Guard compass on there. You can learn what's going on with the Coast Guard. Also, there's a website, uscg.boating, boating.org, and it has a lot of helpful educational tips on boating safety on there.
Excellent. Well, sir, anything else you want to add before we say so long for this week?
Yeah, I'd like to say one more thing about Commander Ray Evans. Commander Ray Evans was in the Battle of Guadalcanal back in 1942.
Wow.
And him and Signalman First Class Douglas Monroe were operating landing craft on September 27th. And Commander Evans died on the 30th of May. It was when he received the Navy Cross for his courage during the Battle of Guadalcanal. and at the age of 92. So one of our Coast Guard heroes just recently passed, and wanted to just get that information out there.
Well, I sure appreciate that. Yeah, is there any place folks can read about his heroism? Maybe
yes, if you go on that uscg.mil website, you can go to the Coast Guard history page, and it explains the battle and what those folks did back when they were 20 years old.
Well, that's excellent, and again, we appreciate having you on here as always, and we're able to share with the folks in Brevard County and other places that listen to us around the country. We know that it gets there because I get phone calls from other states, and get a greater appreciation for all the great things our Coast Guard does for us.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the time, and thanks to AVET Project. You all have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Again, folks, that's our commander, B. Perry, from Coast Guard Station Port Canaveral, reporting in with his regular feature, The Bosun's Call. Hope you all enjoyed that. He's such a good man, and I'm so glad he got promoted. He's much deserved there.
Oh, absolutely.
And to hear that Lane has also got a promotion, because Lane has come on and done an admirable job filling in for the commander when he's been busy on our Bosun's Call. Glenn, we got a whole lot to get to here. What do you think? We got a few minutes before the bottom of the hour. Should we jump right into the HR 1756?
Yeah, let's do that so people have that fresh in their minds. And we're going to run a little clip for you with Congressman Posey that we told you has introduced this legislation, and we're looking for everybody to call their congressmen and their senators and let them know to support this. And I'm not talking just Florida folks here. When you're hearing this in another state, nationwide, if you happen to hear it overseas, call your representative, because this is a good deal. And when we get to the clip here, you'll understand what it's all about again, and then we'll follow up and foot stomp some of the important points for you.
Exactly. So with no further delay, this is our Congressman, the Honorable Bill Posey, talking on the House floor. Vince, go ahead and run this.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. I'm pleased that my bipartisan bill, the Deployed Troops Support Act, is part of an en bloc amendment later this evening. My amendment simply allows the Department of Defense to transport on a space-available basis goods supplied by nonprofit organizations to members of the armed services who are deployed overseas. We ensure that the Secretary has the authority to determine that there is a legitimate need for the goods being shipped, and that the supplies are suitable for distribution, and that adequate arrangements have been made for the distribution when the shipment arrives. This legislative idea was brought to me by veterans in my congressional district, specifically AVET Project. If enacted into law, it would give our troops the same consideration on a space-available basis as currently granted to foreigners under the Denton program. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman.
Okay, so there you heard it, Congressman Posey asking that HR 1756, and folks, this is what Glenn and I have been talking about for so long. We've been working with Congressman Posey for quite some time now to get this put together. This is an old program. It's a joint Department of Defense State Department program called the Denton program, where taxpayer-funded military transports, when they have space available on the planes, are able to ship goods and stuff to foreign nationals, whether it's needy people in Africa or Afghanistan, wherever. But for 50-some years, it's been prohibited that we use this taxpayer-funded program to support our troops.
Yeah, and so the alternative has been to pay some pretty high postage costs to try and get things to support our troops. Those packages you send, what are those?
The EEBs, the Empowerment Equipment Boxes. And Glenn, you make a good point. Any nonprofit that wants to support the troops, one of the biggest stumbling blocks is these shipping costs.
Exactly, and there are many who would provide that support for our troops overseas, particularly those in the combat area, who so much appreciate that. I can remember getting them when I was in Vietnam. That my old crushed cookie story, but it was still, it's the thought that counts in a lot of it. But this is going to be great. I heard him say it's unblocked, so it's good in the House. We got to get it through the Senate now, I guess, Garen?
Exactly. It has gone through the House of Representatives. It's been approved. It's an amendment to the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. In other words, that big act, which is like 1,000 pages, this is added to it. So it's attached to a piece of legislation that must pass. Now the challenge is to get the Senate to leave that in there and approve it. We don't want them taking that little part out, H.R. 1756. It needs to stay with the rest of the package. Groups like AVET Project, Support Our Troops Inc., SOT Inc. up there in Daytona. Salute to Martin Boyer and his staff. Troops Online over in Tampa, and so many other organizations that desperately try and support our troops overseas are going to be able to do all this and so much more because they won't have these ridiculous shipping costs.
Yeah, even if they're able to do just a little bit now, as you're saying, they're going to be able to do a lot more with this. And there's a high percentage of military aircraft deploying overseas that have space available.
Exactly. Whether it's a nook and cranny at the back end of the airplane, instead of doing this program for the foreign nationals, now under this, once we get it enacted into law, we'll be able to ship to our troops as long as they're deployed. They don't have to be in combat theaters, just deployed. And I want to get a quick thank out to Congressman Posey's staff. Kristen Kapovic has been instrumental in spearheading this effort, along with Rob Medina, who's the Congressman's Community Relations Director and Veterans Liaison here on the Space Coast.
Yeah,
and
Rod's a good person. He's the one that takes care of almost all the veteran issues locally. When I have to refer, or one of my team has to refer somebody to the congressman for higher level help, you know, when it's beyond my pay grade type thing.
And the Communications Director for Congressman Posey up in D.C., George Sakala, he and I had a great conversation the other day. This is fabulous news, folks. It's one huge hurdle that we've already overcome, and probably because a lot of you listeners out there picked up the phone and made a call. Well, you still have to. Now the pressure's on. You've got to make calls to make sure that our senators and all 100 senators don't try and knock this off the bill.
That's right. So I was just going to say, refocus your efforts now. It's through the House, so focus on your senators in the states you're in.
Here, Rubio and Nelson.
Yeah, Rubio and Nelson, and let them know you want their full support of House Bill 1756, isn't it?
Yep, okay. H.R. 1756 under the NDAA. Just tell them the Deployed Troops Support Act must get approved. Folks, we're at the bottom of the hour. We've got so much more to get to, and hopefully we'll have a special interview with a woman that's got a story to tell, let me tell you. So we don't want you to go anywhere. Like I said, and like Glenn always says, grab a pencil and a piece of paper because we're going to bring some other good information to you. Stick with us here on American Warrior Radio, coming to you from the WMEL studios, the Talk to Me station. Don't go anywhere. American Warrior Radio will be right back after the break.